Welcome to my latest Horus Heresy battle report. This time the forces of the Dark Mechanicum take on the surviving Loyalist Emperor's children on Istvann III. Istvann III is a smoking ruin. The virus bombs have lit the atmosphere, and northwest of the coral city stands the industrial sector. Largely unbroken by the virus bombs because there was very little organic matter here. The forces of the Dark Mechanicum are moving into this sector, led by their arch-magos himself. Avatar Singh is coming here. So Soltavits of the Loyalist Emperor's children have found a place where they could decapitate the head of the Mechanicum and take them out with a fight on Istvann III. So we're playing a 3,000 point game with this weird janky deployment running down the middle here. We don't know who's deploying on what side yet, and we're playing Onslaught. The way Onslaught works is you get a point for killing the Warlord and a point for killing more, and you also get a point for every unit that you kill in the first turn. But you get 5 points if you take the enemy Onslaught objective. After you deploy your entire army and do scout moves and infiltrators and all the stuff like that, you then put an objective down somewhere in your opponent's deployment zone. If you take that, you get 5 points, and you'll probably win the game, because that'll help. Even if your opponent kills more and kills your warlord and kills a couple of units in turn one, if you take the Onslaught objective, you've won. But it's very hard to take objectives in games of Horus Heresy because the number of OBSEC units or the number of line scoring units is small. And the number of units that can deny an objective is very high. Basically, anything that's not a vehicle or falling back or pinned, if it's on an objective, you can't take it, no matter how many scoring units you have. No OC here. If this was an objective and I had 50 scoring troops there, and there was one enemy denial unit within range of that objective, you can't score it. It also does, playing Onslaught games, also opens up a strategic part of the game during deployment, because you deploy a unit, they deploy a unit. It's the only version of the Horus Heresy where it's you go, I go deployment. So as your opponent's doing that, you can kind of guess where they might put the Onslaught objective. Is it going to go down here? Is it going to go up the other end? Or is it going to go in the middle of the battle grid? And they're looking at your deployment and trying to figure out the same thing as well. So the game actually starts during deployment, and it is one of my favorite Horus Heresy missions to play. And back on the channel today is Alex SEO. Say hi, Alex SEO.
Hi, Alex SEO.
Onslaught, we've played it a few times off camera. Yeah. Is it one of your faves?
It's my favourite, I think, out of all six. Yeah.
Why?
Just I like the deployment thing, and I like the strategy of it. It's kind of one goal, you've got one place to get there.
Oh yeah, I suppose, and in turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, you can see what your opponent's doing. There's also last chances to deny or last chances to score. Now we've probably bigged it up. It's probably
it's probably going to be over in 2 turns.
And here is 3,000 points. Well, it's actually 2,999 points, because these things are 3 points a model of Mechanicum Tagmata, and it's mainly a cybernetic detachment because we're sticking with the narrative, because down here is Archmagos Avatar Singh. And an Archmagos is the leader of an entire forge. He could be in charge of millions, even billions of people. The magma city on Mars, for example, was a continent-sized thing over a couple of volcanoes. Anyway, because you bring an Archmagos, what you can do in the Mechanicum Tagmata is you can pick kind of like a rite of war, kind of like a thing. Some of them might be part of the Destroyer cult, the Reductor cult. Some of them might be Myrmidon cult leaders. And this guy is a Cybernetica. And what that does is Castellax units in Mechanicum are troops. But because he's Cybernetica, because what his forge does is make these things, they become line. They become OBSEC. He's also toughness 5, which is very, very important for when things blow up around you. Because the number of times in Horus Heresy when there's been an explosion, because all dreadnoughts, automata, and all vehicles, they do a strength 8 explosion when they blow up, and they pretty much also blow up, not all vehicles all the time. And if a strength 8 explosion hits a toughness 4 thing, because the strength of the weapon is at least double the toughness of the thing that hits it, And let's remember, all Space Marine heroes, they're all toughness 4. They get hit by a strength 8 thing, and you roll a 1 on your armor save, and that's Slay the Warlord. Because he's Bo Warlord, and he's a big chunky Archmagus, a strength 5, toughness 5, he can take that strength 8 explosion. So you're going to have to run up and punch him in the face. He's also got a 2-up save and a 3-up invulnerable save, because they come with 4-up invulnerable saves, and you can add a cyber familiar to them to make him a 3-up invulnerable save. So 2-up, 3-up invuln, toughness 5, hopefully he won't die, and he's got a mastercrafted servo arm, and the fact says you can make all your attacks with the servo arm, and joining him is a Magos Dominus. So he's got a 3-up invulnerable save as well with a mastercrafted servo arm. And the reason why you bring a couple of Magos, and 3 is the key number really, if you bring in a cybernetic list, because cybernetic constructs can never make reactions. And they follow program behavior, which is to move, shoot, and charge towards the closest enemy thing, whatever the closest enemy thing is, even if it's an empty stunned rhino on 1 wound remaining. That's what they have to do, unless they're within 12-inch range of someone with Patrice Cybernetica. You can get elite choices as well, like this Dominus here, cheap tech marines, and sprinkle them in your army here, there, and everywhere. And there's even an Archmagos ability that you can bring, which allows you to turn those cheap tech priests that are throughout your army into line, into troops. I think into troops, from elites into troops. So it's very flexible, just like all the Space Marine books are flexible. But I brought 2 along today because, well, there are the Scout Fast Uzurax units. They're going to be zipping forward. These are not Uzurax, sorry, these are Vorax. They're going to be zipping forward and trying to do some move blocking. And they're one of the few things in my army with a weapon skill of 4, which can match some Space Marine weapon skills of 4. Most things have a weapon skill of 3 in the AdMech, so they tend to hit on 5s. So they can match them, and they can hold them up for a bit. The Uzurax, which are my other fast attack slot, they have a weapon skill of 4 as well, but their initiative is really low. At least the Vorax have a weapon skill of 4 and initiative 4. So they fight at the same time, and they're pretty good at tying things up, and they have a scout move of 6. And they're kind of going to be the only real AdMech, Castellax, robots, cybernetic stuff going forward. All the other units should be in range of both of these tech priests until they die, because Castellax are midfield holders. They're troops, and there's 3 at the front with multi-melters, and they're the blades, power blades. There's 2 really cheap ones that are 180 points. The Muller bolt cannons used to be AP3, but they're AP4 now. They've got an extra shot, but they lost their AP. At least they changed them into pinning. And at the back, I've got 2 with dark fire cannons. Strength 7, 2 shots, AP2, so it can fire through Terminator armor. And it has lance as well, so they can be fairly effective towards light armor. But at strength 7, they're not insta-killing. They have got very long range though, and they get hot. So these tend to stay at the back. These 2 units tend to stay in the midfield, because Land Raiders, Spartans, things like that are always coming forward. And you want to multi-melter them. And yeah, I can give them reactions so long as my Arch Magos is nearby. Oh, should also mention his Warlord trait. He has the Science of Slaughter. That means every single combat that he's in, all the combats he's in, if it goes past the first turn, his weapon skill and strength goes up by 1 as he figures out his opponent. So in the 4th round of combat, your weapon skill and strength would go up by 3, because it goes up +1 every round of combat as he gets better at fighting and stronger. That caps at 10. I think it's very unlikely he would ever get to 10, but let's just say an Archmagos Prime at weapon skill 10 is beating Primarchs, not that he'd ever get that far against a Primarch, and it would make his servo arm strength 20, which is absolutely ridiculous. But he's the Science of Slaughter. If you don't kill him straight away, he gets better and better, and it gives me an additional reaction in the assault phase, because of course there's reactions in Warhammer Horus Heresy instead of stratagems. And these reactions, there's a couple that you do in the shooting phase, a couple in the movement phase, a couple in the fight phase. So he gives it in the assault phase, which is overwatch or make your opponent disordered. So yeah, that's what he does. There is also an advanced reaction for the AdMech, and I've never ever been able to pull it off. Essentially, there's never been an opportunity where it's been wise or even useful to do. Essentially, if you shoot at a unit with an independent character in, every unit within 12 inches of that can fire back. And you think, oh, that's really awesome. That means 5 units can return fire once per battle because I shot at that guy. Well, your opponent knows that too. And having cybernetic units, all of them being able to fire back. I've got 7 cybernetic units there. I need 7 Magos on the field to pull it off. And Ad Secularis can't react because they're dumb as hell. This unit is a unit of 30 and there's 105 of them. Sorry, a unit of 30 and there are 105 points. They're leadership 6, they're stubborn. The idea, though, is to bury my Archmagos Prime in a big unit of them, and that makes them leadership 10 stubborn and makes them really hard to kill. Though I have failed it off camera a few times, and he has been swept a few times. But yeah, they can't react either. A unit of Thalax here, their line 2 photon thrusters in their best unit in the game. Don't leave home without them because they can move, shoot, move, and I need more of them. Unit of Uzarax, 4 of them have power fists, so they're fast, they can deep strike in, and they can rip open vehicles and stuff. They will always go second in assault, so if you put them against something mean like a Dreadnought or a Terminator squad, they're going to get ripped up. A unit of tanks, these have got the pulsars on, because Strength 9 AP2 ordnance shots are good at ripping open almost every vehicle in the game, except for Land Raiders and Spartans. They're useless against a flare-shielded front armor Spartan or Cerberus heavy assault tank. They can sort of tickle Land Raiders sometimes, but anything below that sort of stuff, they can do some damage to. And because they have 8 shots, they're also pretty good elite killers as well, because they double out insta-kill. And then there's 2 units of Thanatars in the background. Haven't upgraded these guys. You can to give them Paragon of Metal and make them a bit better. But they're there to throw down some long-range fire support and not go anywhere anytime soon. These are toughness 8 with a 2-up save and 7 wounds. They take a lot of digging to get through. And the mortars are really good as well because they ignore cover, which means... And ignore cover, not only does that remove all cover save, but you can't shroud against it either. And the guns breach on a 4-up, so go straight through armor on a 4-up to wound. So they're actually pretty effective, but they're 235 points each. So more than 2 of them is a lot of your army. But they're probably one of the best things in the Mechanicum Codex other than the Myrmidons. But I purposely haven't brought the Myrmidons along today because this is a cybernetic cult. And the Myrmidon cults, well, this is a forge led by a cybernetic datasmith. And they tended not to tolerate the Myrmidon cults very much. Yes, it was a sub-faction, a sub-religion running through the might of the Omnissiah. And the Myrmidons believed the best way to express the Omnissiah's power and the Omnissiah's will was through war. And that's why they're tooled up to take on. They're like our Terminators. They're tooled up to take on Space Marines in close combat and shooting and stuff like that. And they tended to attach themselves to loads of different forges. But it's certainly antithetical towards what an Archmagos cybernetic datasmith would do. That isn't in their bag, baby. So they're not here today. I'm gonna miss them. Let's take a look at the Emperor's Children. And here we have, bang on, 3,000 points worth of Emperor's Children, gloriously painted up by me. But the bases are provided by marchofwar.co.uk, so big shout out to March of War there. And those Horus Heresy players out there as well, before we go, Alex. We'll notice that we're bringing Lucius and Soltavitz together. Best of buddies, lifelong companions. Lucius the Flawless Blade will never fall to chaos and will always stand by his friend, the first Loyalist, Soltavitz. Nothing bad happens to him at all, ever. And technically, according to the rules, you can't run them together because Lucius has the traitor keyword. But for anyone who's read the first 3 books, he wasn't... Look, if you stopped at book 3, he's pretty much a good guy. So we're running them both as good guys because up until the very end of the battle on Istvann III, they worked side by side to overthrow the forces of the traitors and to make the traitors bleed on the planet of Istvann III for as long as possible. Alex SEO, tell the people what Emperor's Children do.
So Emperor's Children have a glorious Legion strat,
Yes.
which is their advanced reaction, and that is that if you decide you want to charge me, then I can charge you instead. And if I roll higher, then I charge rather than you, which is good because my army-wide buff is +1 initiative on the charge, so I have to charge to make any use of it.
Yes. And Space Marines are initiative 4, so I've got a few initiative 4 units, which means when we fight at the same time. So you can actually have combats in Horus Heresy where both fights kill each other at the same time, and there's like one guy left and two guys left and stuff like that. So a higher initiative means you fight and kill a bunch of stuff before they even get to hit you. That's why initiatives have That's why some Primarchs have stupid high initiatives, like Initiative 6. And Lucius, the Flawless Blade, is one of the few independent characters that has Initiative 6. He's that quick. And also, the other thing is, I think as his weapon skill or his initiative is higher than his opponent's in a challenge, his initiative goes up again.
Yeah.
And he's got Duelist Pride, and his initiative goes up in close combat.
And his weapon skill and everything. He loves a duel.
He loves a duel. He loves proving himself. Okay, so we got that. What's in the Force? Oh, Warlord. Who's been the Warlord?
Soltarvitz, always.
Always Soltarvitz.
He's the Warlord.
So 2 reactions in the shooting phase, and if certain conditions are met, then anyone within 12 inches then becomes fearless.
That's right, yeah. Defiant unto death, which I think is great when you look at the actual story. That's his Warlord trait.
Yeah.
And basically, yeah, he's fearless most of the time, to be honest. It's a bit complicated. It's 30k, so it's probably complicated.
Basically, if he's in combat and outnumbered, fearless. If he's near an objective, fearless. If you're losing on points, fearless.
Yeah.
Your whole everyone within 12 inches of him, which fearless you can't shroud from, but it's really good. Basically, you're not backing down from any combat. And of course, these two are absolute G's. Army composition-wise.
So we've gone for
Pride of the Legion?
Rite of War, which is Pride of the Legion.
Yeah. What does that do?
Basically, a few things. It restricts you by you can only have one heavy sport choice.
So that's a squadron.
That's a squadron, yeah.
Okay.
But
and that's not heavy. That's a Lord of War, right?
That's a Lord of War, so I can bring that as well, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And it's less than a third of the points of my army, or whatever the number is.
25% of your points on Lords of War at 3,000 points. That's 500 points math, and that with the last kind of 435.
Slightly more, yeah, but he's fine.
Yeah.
But what that Rite of War does is allow you to bring certain elite choices as troops, and they gain line.
And line.
Only for 2 of the units, because they have to be your compulsory choices.
Okay.
And there's only 2 compulsory troop choices. But it allows you to basically bring 20 veterans as troops.
Nice.
That score, which is nice.
Okay, so these are 2 wound Space Marines with a better weapon skill.
Yes.
They also gain Relentless, because I noticed there's 2 plasmas in each squad, which is normally you couldn't shoot it and charge.
Yeah, but they can.
But they can.
Because they're veterans.
I see 3 claws and 4 Chana balls.
Yeah, pretty much. And a hammer on the sergeant.
Hammer, metal bombs, artificer.
Yeah, metal bombs and artificer armor on those.
Okay, what else we got?
Then we got some troops.
Yes.
Don't leave home without them, because they're pretty much the only things that can score your objectives.
And they're cheap.
They're very cheap, yeah, so only 100 points. A little bit more because we paid for some upgrades. So the sergeant in each squad has artificer armor and probably a nice weapon. This one's got a Phoenix power sword.
Phoenix power sword.
This one's got a claw.
He's got a Phoenix power sword.
He's got a Phoenix power sword.
Yeah. 100 points for a unit of 10 troops. That's it.
But if you want to give them all choppy weapons,
yes,
they're 5 points each. So it actually is an extra 50% of the cost of the guy to give him a chainsword.
Right.
But it looks cool, doesn't it? You know.
And it does give them all an extra attack.
Yes.
And your Emperor's Children if you go charging in +1 initiative.
Yes, exactly.
Phoenix Terminators. Now, Phoenix Terminators were the elite of the elite and Fulgrim's own bodyguards. And in Book 2, a lot of them got wiped out. And I got a comment in one of the videos saying they were all wiped out by the Avatar when they went to... No, that's not...
He had a few hundred.
There's quite a lot of them in and out of rotation. And just like Soltarvitz, and just like Solomon Demeter, there must have been some Phoenix Terminators that were loyal as well.
That's what I'm saying, because look at the models, they're cute.
Well, also, the rulebook doesn't say traitor like it does for Lucius.
Yeah.
Doesn't say traitor for some units such as Red Butchers. You can take them if they're loyalists.
Yes.
And they look so cool.
They do look cool.
And they got reach with those Reapieth. Was it initiative? What on the charge?
So it gives them +1 initiative all the time, because they hit you before you get close, yeah.
Yeah.
And they also get +1 initiative on the charge. So they can get up to initiative 6, which is good for
Primarch level.
Yeah, that's good for a normal Marine.
Okay.
10 of them, they don't score today because we haven't got a banner.
Okay.
But that's okay. 2 land raiders
Yes.
to chuck some troops in. Probably the veterans.
All the toys.
What you see is what you get. So yeah, all the las cannon upgrades and a multi-melter on top.
Nice.
2 rhinos.
Yes.
Because you need to move.
Don't leave home without them.
They're handy. They give up kill points, but you know.
Dozer blades.
They're only 40 points. So they're reliable in 30k. They actually go where you want them to go pretty quickly.
And they move 14.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And then a big gun.
Really big gun.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
It's got a flare shield on the front, which means it's armor knight of 15 on the front.
You're going to struggle to kill it unless you can get to it with some fists.
Yeah,
probably.
And that big gun, strength 10 AP1?
Yes.
And the crazy thing about it is something called shock pulse.
Yes.
So long as you score a wound or a penetrating hit, the target that hits can only snap fire.
Yes.
Which means you can't fire blasts, which means you're hitting on 6s.
That's good. It shuts something down.
Yeah. But it has got something called, I remember playing this recently in a game of Horus Heresy, well not recently, but there's like a feedback thing, because it's actually an energy beam, like, you know in those movies that turn on for a bit, a few seconds and go, it's got like feedback, so if it doesn't manage to penetrate a vehicle, and this happened in the battle report, it only glanced at it a bunch of times, which is really rare because strength 10 ordnance. But then it takes a wound itself.
Yeah, and it gets hot, so it can kill itself eventually.
Oh, another thing that did get pointed out in the comments, thank you comment section, that if vehicles get hot, then you roll another d6 and on a 1-2 you take a wound. You don't take it straight away.
Oh, maybe it won't kill itself so fast.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, it won't kill itself as fast. It's got a 2/3. Thank you, comment people, because it was dying. And of course, Dreadnought.
How do we forget? The legendary Rylanor.
And that's why he's got the assault cannon.
Yeah, it's not the best choice, but he just looks awesome.
Well, against Admech, two things. In narrative, that's the gun he had.
Yep.
And against Admech, the assault cannon works.
That's true, actually, yeah.
And melter in the right fist, obviously, left fist.
Yep.
Okay, so bang on 3,000 points worth of Empress children on the nose. Sol Tarvitz and his best buddy, Lucius the Flawless Blade, is leading the last of the Loyalist Phoenix Terminators to District 117 to stop Archmagos Singh. And here we are after deployment, and scout moves have been made, and the Mechanicum, the Dark Mechanicum, are rushing in to Battle Grid 117, and they want to sweep across it and take the field, and down there is where I placed my Onslaught objective, right next to Sol Tarvitz in a Land Raider with 10 veterans, and Lucius the Eternal in a Land Raider with 10 veterans, and some troops next to them. Because they're coming forward, I think, because it looks like Sol Tarvitz and his crew of motley rebels want to take this objective. So there's going to be a lot of fighting, largely in the open, down this side of the battle grid. The Vorax can scout forward, so they went forward there. Here is my warlord here, and then strung all the way over here is the second Admech guy, because he can give these guys a chunk of orders as well. And I kept the Uzurax in reserve. And round here is Rylanor and the Terminators. And I thought about putting my objective somewhere down here initially, but that's a lot of things to dig through to try and get to it. Of course, they can run under the platform. The Sky Shield landing pad is blocked off, but they can run under the platform to get to the other side of the battle grid. But that might take them out in the open to some of the firepower. And then the last unit of troops for the Loyalist Emperor's children are manning the installation up here. One of the interesting things to note about this terrain is there are no ruins anywhere. So everything is going to get a 6-up cover save if they get cover at all. The only exception is we're treating these as barricades, and then if you're within 2 inches of barricade in Horus Heresy and your infantry, I think. Anyway, these could provide a 5-up cover save. We'll need to check that rule. But I think there's mainly 6-up cover saves all over the place. And I'm going first.
Maybe.
In Horus Heresy, you roll a dice, and then you do your deployment, and the person who won gets to pick their deployment zone and gets to go first. Unless your opponent seizes the initiative and rolls a 6. And I haven't gone first in fights with you this year, I don't think.
It's been a while.
I mean, honestly, what is my percentage, do you think, your percentage of going first? I want to say it's like 90%.
I would say 80-20, it feels like.
It's crazy high. And
but you won the roll-off today.
I did, for the first time, like, ever.
There you get the camera outlet.
So don't roll a 6, Al, please.
No.
It's a 2. It's the Dark Mechanicum. Turn 1. Here we are after the admit forward movement phase. Before we begin, we did double check barricades. They do grant a 5-up cover save. The other thing that we're doing on this table is, because there's not a lot of difficult terrain all over the place, is we're counting the rubble piles as difficult terrain. They'll provide cover to all the infantry when they get in them. Imagine that there's rebars sticking up and bits of smoke and bits of ash and dust floating across this battlefield after the virus bombings. So yeah, they're all going to provide cover and potentially immobilize transports, but also what they do is slow the army down when you go through it. If it's walking, vehicles aren't slowed down, but when they hit difficult ground, they could treat it as dangerous and become immobilized. Infantry just chonk through stuff and are reduced by 2, unless they've moved through cover and things like that. Anyway, so pushing forward here, they've been told to react and ignore the cybernetic thing. You can do 1 for free. You just do it. Or you pass the leadership test and you can give them 2 orders. And the second thing I gave them is, every time a shooting attack hits them, you can ignore the first bit of damage that comes through. So you shoot at them with a vehicle, you ignore the first thing, you shoot at them with another one. It's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. Everything's moving around to get some line of sight and at least crack open 1 vehicle from the Emperor's Children in turn 1. And the same has been thrown out to this unit of Voraks here. Ignore the first damage that comes through and react. And the goal here is at least to crack open that Rhino, which reacted in the movement phase, because you can do that. And Alex pushed it forward. He just wants to come at me. And then I remember I didn't move these, so I'm going to move these. So I've moved them. They've ran forward as well, like the other Voraks over there. So no charging. But they're very quick when they run, because they've got fleet too. Let's shoot some guns. Guess we're going to put 3 multi-melters into that Rhino there from this Castellax unit, because all I can do to land raiders at this range is glance them. And they hit every single time. Strength 8, armor 11, I need 3s to glance, 4s to pen, that's cocked. And that's 2 penetrating hits. Alex wasn't shrouding to that, it's only a Rhino. And it's +2 to that dice roll, because it's AP1. That's an explosion. Blew up 4 inches, didn't hurt the Land Raider nearby, it's too tough, and there are 10 guys inside. 9 of them are wounded. And the active player can, the defensive player can apply these. However, the thing about it is only 1 can go on the Artificer guy.
Nah, so he dodged the blast.
Right, okay. So 9 3-up saves on the troops inside. Good luck. Wow, only 1 of them dies in the explosion. Then they take a pinning test, because they just got blown out of a vehicle. Leadership 8. And you pass. Boom. Unlike 40k, where you disembark near the vehicle, you get placed in the footprint of the vehicle. I'm knocking off terrain, Alex. And this big Thanatar can drop a big, nasty template on them. But he's also got the reactor... I really want to kill him. He's got the reactor blast rule. So I roll a d3, and he takes that many wounds. And because true line of sight is a thing, and I blocked my way with my own tanks, I can only put the disc there. But as I said, it comes down twice for this. And the first one scatters 4 inches. And that hits 6 of them. And then this one scatters 6 inches. And the second shot completely misses. These are wound on 2s. And those allow armor saves. Those go straight through the armor. And because it ignores cover, that will kill 2 of them. But these... you could tank them on Artificer if you want.
Sorry, 3 ups.
3 ups. 4 die in total. They're also in Mauler Bolted Cannon range, which hits on 3s, and it's twin linked on the Thanatar, and it wounds on 2s, but it is full armor save. It's AP4.
More 3 ups.
And you make them all. Let's move across to Thanatar number 2, who's going to overload his reactor again. It's plasma. It gets hot. It gets hot 2 times as well. And that one scatters a long way. That's 6 inches that way. It might actually hit some of your stuff back there. The coordinates are out. It hits 1 in that unit and the Land Raider. Second shot. That will only scatter an inch. And that hits 4 of the target unit. 2 of them go straight through the armor. 1 of them it doesn't injure at all. And a 1, 2 or 3 up save, depending on where you want to put it.
2 up saves. Feeling brave now.
Okay.
He's dead.
Sergeant gets wiped out. 1 in the squad back there. doesn't get wounded, and the tank, this is ordnance, doesn't do anything to the tank either. It is a Land Raider. Twin-linked Mauler bolt cannon in his fist, however. Twin links, because in this version, it's reroll a hit. In 40k, it's reroll a wound. Really annoying. Wounds 4 times. 4 3-up saves on the last 2 remaining Brave Marines. And there's only 1 left standing. Alex, you get a point for every unit you kill in turn 1.
You do.
I lined up the Thalax here. So the 2 Thoton thrusters can... The idea, I was thinking maybe this wouldn't crack the tank and I need the Thoton thrusters to do it. So I feel like this is a waste into one guy, but if I kill him, and they hit on 3s and they gets hot. So 1 will take a wound, but he has a 6-up feel no pain. So 1 takes a wound, and Thalax have 3 each, so we're okay. This is strength 6 AB2. If I roll a 2, he's dead. Yeah, he's dead. Oh no, there is cover. There's cover between me and you. So you're getting 6s. The other big shot's no cover. No, he does get wiped out, and that will be 2 points. Because you get a point for everything you kill in the first turn. I killed a Rhino and killed a whole unit. I also lined up the Castellax with the Darkfire cannons to hit it as well. Now we're going to be shooting at a Land Raider, which probably won't do anything. But it is Lance. These are Darkfire technology as well, so they get hot. Burrowing holes through reality, hitting on 3s. Now, typically Strength 7 can't penetrate Land Raider.
Oui.
But this has Lance, so I count your armor as 12. So a 5 will glance and a 6 will pen. And it doesn't do anything. Land Raider's just too tough. Right, let's get on to the proper big guns. Ordnance fire from the Krios tanks into the lead Land Raider.
Shroud.
Yeah, I should Coco. Do you remember last game, which we didn't film, and I sort of one-tapped every single one of your vehicles? Like in turn 1, I one-tap 1. Turn 2, one-tap 1. Turn 3.
Spartan and everything, yeah.
It's never happened before. I fear, I'm worried that I've blown my load early. I'm worried that this isn't going to do anything. 3s to hit you, 4 shots each. 3s to hit, 3 of them miss, and they're ordnance. So the way this works is strength 9, but you roll 2 dice and pick the highest. Again, armor 14, I need a 6 to pen. So the first shot doesn't do anything. The second shot, glances. The third shot, pens. The fourth shot, doesn't do anything. And the last shot, pens. 2 pens, 1 glance. There is cover between you and I.
So a glance.
Yes.
6-up cover.
Yes.
And a 5-up field of pain.
Shrouding, because you pop smoke and things. No, he's going to take a hull point.
6-up covers on the pens.
Yes. And you make one of them.
Hey, a 5-up.
It slams into this thing here.
Shroud.
And you don't make that.
So that's a pen and a glance.
So if I roll a 6, it's dead.
Oui.
And a 1 tap him. 4th time, this isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen, but it does immobilize that lead tank and take it down to 3 hull points. Have to put it on that one there because I can't see the other one. Now they're a squadron. Normally they'd have to stay within 4 inches of each other, but he's immobilized.
So you can abandon him.
It's the only time you can abandon your squadron mates. You just leave him there, and basically it's a fixed bunker now, shooting back across the battle grid. And I think I did everything. Oh, I forgot to move, shoot, move. These guys can move again after they've shot, so I'm going to just tuck them back round into cover. I've got some Mauler cannons here. Let's do the Mauler cannons up at the balcony. I can only see 3 in that squad anyway, but let's see if we can tickle them. I do tickle them 4 times. I can't see the sergeant, so it's 4 3-up saves. And I take out 2 of them, and that is the end of my shooting phase. 1 minute, you can shroud, because Tarvitz has 2 reactions in the shooting phase a turn, and only take out 1 of them. Interestingly though, Mauler cannons are pinning.
Oui.
So leadership 8, don't exceed. You don't exceed, they're not pinned. At the end of Archmagos Singh's first turn, first attempt to crack the Emperor's Children, he has utterly removed one of the Loyalist units from the battle grid as he seeks to sweep into District 117 and take this from the Loyalist. Injuries along my own line, however, with the Thanatars and the Thalax down there. But apart from an immobilized Land Raider, the Emperor's Children are angry, and Sol Tarvitz has an opportunity to break the Dark Mechanicum's hold on Istvann III right here, as we go on to Loyalists, turn 1. Soltavitz nominated this as his Onslaught objectives. Hold this part of the battle grid down, lads, and we will win this day. So most things have swept round this way. Troops inside the Rhino. There is Soltavitz. He got out after he ran. He disembarked and ran from the immobilized Rhino. It's typical Soltavitz luck. Lucis's Land Raider is absolutely fine. Soltavitz's Land Raider immobilized straight away at the eve of the battle. But you're coming round this way. You thought about getting the unit out of this one to charge. Why aren't they charging? Why aren't the vets charging the Vorax?
Because I'm pretty much certainly lose Lucius the Eternal to an exploding robot.
Okay. Big shock pulse tank in the backfield. There's Rylanor. He ran round this way as well. And we've put all the Terminators up there, but they're below. They're below. They're squeezing through the gap. They're there so you guys can see them. That was a pretty good turn. Pretty effective turn from the Mechanicum in turn 1. So let's find out how the Emperor's Children respond in the shooting phase. Starting off with the Land Raider, firing at the Vorax. We have 4 las cannons that are not twin-linked on the sponsoons and 1 in the nose that is twin-linked. There are 4 hits. Strength 9, toughness 5. There's 2s to wound, 3 wounds. They have a 5 up and vulnerable save, and 1's on 1 wound remaining, 3 wounds each. Then there's the multi-melter, which hits and will wound on a 2 and wounds. Does it kill a robot? It does kill a robot. I'm going to put it on this one, which blows up. I'll show them this on camera the first time out, but then blows up 5 inches. So what that does is it hits these 2 here and wounds them on 2s, and they have a 3-up save against that, and they're fine. And it's strength 8 into the Rhino. It'll glance that on a 3, and it doesn't do anything, but it could pen it and stun it and immobilize it and things like that. I don't have to take leadership tests with Cybernetic though. They are fearless. Now the Land Raiders are separate, firing them separately. They've got Power of the Machine Spirit anyway, so they can declare separate targets. And there are 3 las cannons smashing out at this Thanatar here. 1 on the side, which hits on 3s, and 1 in the nose, which hits on the 3s, but is twin-linked. And only 1 hits. Strength 9 versus toughness 8. It does wound. It has a 5 up and Vun. It fails its 5 up and Vun and goes down to 4 wounds remaining. The multi-melter was going into those robots. It was the only thing it could reach out and touch. And it's twin linked. And it hits and wounds on a 2. And they have a 5 up and Vun, which they fail as well. And then this side sponsoon was hitting my tanks. And I shrouded them. So, can he hit? Hit both of the time. Strength 9, front armor 13.
Four's glance.
Four's glance. But you have Sunder on las cannons, which is re-rolling, which is twin-linked in 40k terms, which is just wrong. I've mentioned that already. 6 up cover save. Oh, I didn't even need a shroud. And the reason why I shrouded the tanks is because I was very certain that Alex would fire the shock pulsing neutron laser destroyer Cerberus at one of these guys to stop them doing their blasts. But you're not. You're picking on the tanks now.
I am, yeah.
Brilliant. That's what I would do once they're shrouded anyway. 3s to hit with the big gun. And we have 3 6s there. It's strength 10 ordnance.
Oui.
So 2d6. That's a glance. Okay, 2d6. That's a glance. You need to pen it, otherwise you're going to get feedback. Okay, we've got a pen. We've got a pen. I've got cover saves. 2 glances. And then the penetrating hit. The penetrating hit gets through. It is AP1, which stuns it. Sorry, shakes it. It can move, but it's snap firing. It's got 2 wounds remaining. Sorry, 1 hull point remaining, and 1 las cannon can hit it as well, which misses. Pretty much it for the shooting phase. This Rhino down here pops smoke. The guys at the back, they're either out of range or ran, so we're on to the charge phase. Are you charging with the Phoenix guys into my robots?
Oui.
I am going to overwatch you because I told them that they could react.
Lovely.
So let's do that now. And unlike 40k, you hit a normal ballistic skill. So the lightning guns on top hit on 3s, and at strength 7 they wound on 2s, and on 4+, they'd have gone straight through your armour. But as it is, Terminator saves. And you make them. And then each of them has 8 shots for these rotor cannons in their arm. What they did with Vorax is they used to unleash them in hive cities as hunter-killers to go and find a target, destroy a target, or take out a cultist thing, just one. to take, and they would keep going and keep going and keep going. 3s to hit with one of the robots. These rotor guns, though, you know I said they'd unleash them in high cities against humans?
Yeah.
They're strength 3. Good for killing humans. Not so much for killing Terminators. 2 up saves.
So you've got to do this 3 times.
Got to do this 3 times. If one of them gets through, it will force a pinning test. It's a lot of shots. 5 more came through from the other robots, and the Terminators shrug off that. And then they charge. It's like a 6 or 7.
Yes.
That's a 5.
Probably not a 5.
That won't do it. No CP rerolls in this game, but they will surge half of that distance, always rounding up. So that'll be a 3-inch surge. Yeah. I love that in Heresy, and they should introduce that into 40k as well. Failed charges mean you get part of the way there. It just feels more narrative to me. Mind you, the whole of the Horus Heresy rule set is written with narrative in mind, and that is the end of the Emperor's Children. Turn 1, they've shaken one of my vehicles, but apart from that, the amount of firepower coming back from the bad mech will be the same. And my reserves, the Izaraks, will drop in on a 3. They're not coming to the party yet. Deployment is over. We know where each of our critical objectives are. Turn 1, we move to engage, throw down as much damage as possible. And I blunted the middle. The Loyalists have swung round this way. And there's the objective over there and the objective here. So I'm responding this way as well. Here's the shaken tank, which is only snap firing. There's the good tank, and I'm swinging around this way because big nasty guns and an immobilized Land Raider over there. Anything this side of the wall is in a free fire zone for some big guns. So not only am I adjusting this way because there's 30 infantry down here, but I'm adjusting this way to move out of the way of the big guns, which kind of leaves the Thanatar, the Castellax, and the Vorax somewhat isolated round here, and facing them is 10 Terminators. And down below the gantry, Ancient Rylanor. Ancient Rylanor is actually a Legends choice. You can get his real points and unit, all of this stuff in the Legends thing. We're not running him as Rylanor because 1, it's like 70 points more, it's stupid expensive, and 2, he's good enough as is. He's to our mind, that model is always Rylanor. Every time we played him, and that's why we got him, and that's why we put the guns on. But for those people following along who really, there are a couple of people, you see, there'll be about 3 people watching this video who know it. And they're like, 1 minute, he had 1 less wound. 1 minute, because Ancient Rylanor gets 1. No, we're not playing him. He's called Ancient Rylanor. Anyway, let's move on to the shoot phase. So, starting on the left flank, I guess this gun is only firing at your Rhino. You did pop smoke. Do you want a shroud as well?
Yeah.
You do, because you've got 2 reactions in the shooting phase. So here's the gun that's not snap firing, and here is the gun that is snap firing that needs 6s. Look at that. That's not bad. The strength 9 ordnance. The first one, pens. The second one, pens. The third one, pens. The fourth one, pens. And the last one, that is 5 penetrating hits. So 6 up cover.
5 6s.
No. How about 5 5s?
5 5s. That's
With the
much
shrouding.
easier.
No.
No.
So that's all 3 of its hull points. It's definitely a wreck. Does it blow up? 3 chances to get a 6. There's a 6. The boom doesn't hurt my robots because they have to be more than 1 inch away. 10 guys inside get hit by flaming chunks of metal. And when I say 10, I mean 9. And 2 of them don't make it out of the wreckage. And they take a pinning test. And they're not pinned. It's not greater than 8. And at this point, I forgot to do my cybernetic stuff, Alex.
Carry on, mate.
So within 12 inches of a HQ that would Patrice Cybernetica, you can give out 1 of 4 orders. React on them again. I don't think they're going to get hit by much. And, well, because I've left nothing over this side, they're in harm's way. React. Both of the big Thanatars can react if you shoot them, okay?
Yeah, I just remembered something.
What?
You had to ignore the first damage on him.
Oh yeah, ignore the first damage on that guy over there. So he's not on 2 wounds anymore.
That's fine.
Okay, so right in front of that, well, we have to move, shoot, charge the closest thing because we're cybernetic and we're outside of Cortex range. And the lightning guns, one of them hits and one of them wounds, full armor save, and then I'll do all the buzz guns. Anti-human rotor cannons fired in, killed one more, and then the Castellax, only one robot could shoot in, and a multi-melter took out another one. So now we're on to the big guns. It's going to be suicide to fire a Thanatar danger close to my stuff. I could fire twice, but that's double suicide, so let's fire it once. Please hit, please hit. Omnisci, hear my prayer. That's a scatter. If the centre of that blast goes off the table, it's a miss. And that's a miss, and the Mauler cannons come in, strapped to its left wrist, and wound on 2s, but full armour save. It does pin, but they've already taken a pinning test, and you can't be forced to take more than 1 pinning test per shooting phase. So that unit's been cut down to 5 remaining after getting cracked open from their Rhino. We're moving all the way along down to this flank. Here are my Thalax, by the way. They're not shooting this turn. They move, jump, shoot, move. They could be lending some firepower down on this battle over here. But as I said, the battle is round that way on the left flank. What are you thinking, Alex? You got the tape measure out?
Nothing really.
Okay, I just saw you pick up the tape measure like Luke Skywalker, like I'm ready for battle.
I was going to check if these are fearless because they're going to need a morale test, and they are. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so they're in range, so we'll check. I'm the winning, yes, 2-0.
Yeah.
So everything on within 12 inches of targets is fearless all of a sudden. So they can't fall off the table, because that's the other thing about this diagonal thing, by the way, guys, is both of these are Alex's closest table edge, and both of these are my closest table edge. So you can fall off that way or that way. No battle shock in this. If you fail morale, you run away. And the only thing that will keep you on the edge of the table from going off the table is 1 regrouping or 2 of Exilla. Okay, let's fire these big robots of doom on this flank then. Into your Terminators. I say big robots of doom. There's going to be a lot of shots here and probably not a lot of death. Then after firing everything at Terminator plate, only 1 Terminator fell. Now we're coming onto the Castellax behind the Vorax. And they're going to hit on 3s. Haven't fired these Castellax yet. These are Mauler pattern bolt cannons, Alex, but they're not twin linked. So they just wound on 2s again. Strength 6 versus our toughness 4. That is 5 2-up saves. And you fail one, and it is a pinning test.
I think they're usually 9.
And they hold. 2 bolters in their fists. They are in rapid fire range. They wound you once. Does 1 break through? It doesn't break through, but 1 Terminator has fallen so far. And 1 is on 1 wound. And then I pulled the Thanatar around this way, because I can see a chunk of them. I can see these 4 here. And he'll overcook his nasty gun of doom. Let's try. Mind you, danger close to my guys. Yes, he will. He takes 3 wounds. He's down to 1 remaining. So my Thanatar is not long for this world. His plasma mortar keeps overheating. At least that only scatters at 1 inch. And then the second shot hits for once. My first hit. And I hit 8 of them. And you can't shroud this because it ignores cover, and I roll low. The reason why it's important is because those are full Terminators. Those breach. Those are invulnerable.
5 invulnerable saves.
5 invulnerable saves. And you make them both. And the 2s. And you make all of the shots from the Thanatar. And it's steaming. It's smoking. It's some of the metal is dripping down its back as that plasma gun overheats. And then the Mauler cannon chuggers its way in, which is twin linked. There's 2 of them strapped together there. And that wounds 3 more times. 1's on 1 wound. And still he holds firm. They're good, aren't they? They're good. Last thing left to fire. The 2 Darkfire cannons, which are blinding and can potentially cripple this unit firing. So the Terminator shroud and all the shots hit, rolling them separately because of gets hot. And 3 of them wound and they're AP2, so straight to invulnerable saves. And you fail them all. Can you shroud? Do they duck, drop and roll? You shroud 1 of them. 1 more Terminator falls. Then you take an initiative test. And that's a pass. Then the bolt guns fired in, didn't wound. That's the end of the shooting phase, and no morale tests to take anywhere for the Emperor's children. There would be here for suffering more than 25% casualties, but those troops can hear Soul Tarvitz telling them to hold, as the 2 Vorax go charging in. And the Vorax go flying in there. Then over on the other extreme flank, 3 Vorax want to charge the Emperor's Children Terminators. Are you doing it now?
Nah.
No?
Charge me.
I charge 8. Crump the Vorax go flying in there. They have Hammer of Wrath, the 2 in base to base. And they both wound. As they go flying in there, they're so quick. The Phoenix Terminators dodge deftly out the way. Then their initiative 5, they're quicker. They get to fight first with their reaching rapiers. And the Phoenix Guard pile in, and 6 of them can fight. And they hit on 3s.
They do. I'm not going to mess with my weapon skill, which I can do.
Tell the people about it.
It's called Skill Unmatched.
Yes.
It's an Emperor's Children thingamabob.
Yes.
Pretty much only they have it and a couple of the characters.
Don't the other guys, Palatine Blades?
They have it as well, yeah.
Yeah.
So only the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
And they can change the way they fight. They can be defensive, offensive,
Right.
or just crazy. And basically what it does is you manipulate your weapon skill up or down for hitting or defending.
Right.
But it costs you attacks. Or you can go batshit and have extra attacks at a lower weapon skill.
Okay.
But
Skill Unmatched.
right now it makes no point in doing
This
any
is one of those reasons why we love Horus Heresy so much. That's a hell of a lot of words
Memorise 2 paragraphs.
to squeeze in. Emperor's Children Elite of the Elite in close combat can fight better, fight worse, do what they need to do. Love it. Anyway, 3s to hit. Nice. And you are strength 6 with those rapiers. And I am toughness 5. So they wound on 3s. And 6 is an instant death. Phoenix rapiers, again, an Emperor's Children thing.
Phoenix Power Spears.
Phoenix Power Spears, but Phoenix Power Weapons all have 6s do instant death. So you have to save instant death first. 5 up and run. And make it. All of these ones go straight through my armour anyway, because they're AP3 and I've 3 up armour, so 5 up and buns. And he killed one of them, nice. Which I put obviously right at the front, and he'll blow up 6 inches and hurt both of mine on 2s, and they'll save on 3s. So mine are okay, and then there's 8 of your models that get hit by the explosion after you...
Save one, because the Sergeant needs to be done separately.
Sergeant and the other guys. Okay. And you got 2 up saves, but because they're strength 8, if a chunk of this shrapnel goes through their Terminator plate, they die. Because it's a big burning pile of shrapnel. No, they all stop, drop and roll. Okay, so you wipe out one of mine. The explosion doesn't take out one of yours, which is quite rare. Then I fight back. Alex, despite all the convoluted rules, it reminds me how easy it was filming 7th edition Warhammer 40k battle reports. Because we started back then, you were back at the very start of things. And the rules are written with a narrative in mind all the time. So it's so easy to narrate. As I smack back at you with all my power blades on 5s, because your weapon skill is better than mine, and only 2 hits get through. They are strength 6, so wound on 2s, and 5's breach goes straight through the armour. 5 up and vulnerable saves, only a couple of blows got through, but they managed to take out one of the Terminators. And that's the end of that combat. You've got 7 guys left. We've got to consolidate into each other. That's another thing in Heresy. You have to move in where possible.
Starting with you.
But I take that for $1, losing 1 Vorax and down to 7 Terminators remaining. Up this side of the battle grid, 2 Vorax charged the 5 remaining troops that got blown out of their transport, and 2 of them get impact hits, and one of them gets run over, and we're both initiative 4. And we both hit at the same weapon skill, but these are disordered because you reacted in the assault phase. Wounding on 2s. And that one kills one, because that one breaches. So 4 normal saves.
So I'm gonna try and do some artificer saves.
Okay, here we go.
Never goes well, so he's dead.
Right. 2 up. 2 up. 2 up.
He died.
And finally the sergeant gets cut down. I like that. Again, people have a problem with the artificer mechanic, but the sergeant is saying, get behind me, lads, or stepping up, or taking these out in one-on-one combat. And he gets to... Yeah. And then you get to fight back. Everyone gets to fight. It's at the same initiative.
Glory man.
Yes. Misses.
And the other 3 guys.
Yes.
One miss.
5's to wound. It doesn't manage to wound. And at the end of that, you would have lost combat, but you're in range of Zol targets. So you don't have to take a leadership test. So we're locked up. And that is the end of Archmagos Singh's turn 2. I've put obstacles on the left and the right flank, and down the gut, try to bury and hide as much as the admech as we can. So let's find out how the Loyalist Emperor's children respond in their turn 2. In the movement phase, Sol Tarvitz comes moving up this flank here next to the non-immobilized Land Raider to relieve the unit that is in close combat with the Vorax. No falling back mechanic in Horus Heresy. They're locked in an endless duel until one side dies, or one side have weapons that can't even hurt the enemy. Down the centre, Rylanor's running. He's coming up this way quick.
He is, yeah.
And in the backfield, you are keeping a unit of troops surrounding that Cerberus. Why are they around that big heavy tank? Why aren't they moving into the fight?
Deep striking guys can't land here and then charge it. That's probably the only way you're going to kill it now. So
yeah, the Uzurax can punch it.
They do,
but shooting it is going to be a problem for me.
Yes.
We start the shooting phase with the Cerberus, a heavy tank destroyer, targeting my Thanatar down here, who has been told to react. So he definitely is shrouding this.
Good man.
As you fire in, hit on 3s, and everything hits. Wounding on 2s.
Yes.
Spend 10, toughness 8, wounds on 2s. I have 4 5+ invulnerable saves to make, and I make 2 of them, and 5+ shrouding saves to make. Because if one gets through, his big gun isn't firing next turn. And remember, that one's down to 1 wound remaining. And one gets through, scores a penetrating hit, takes him down to 4 wounds remaining. And there's one las cannon on the side that can see, and that misses. Thanatar snap firing next turn now, and he can't snap fire blasts. We went on to the Land Raider, which fired its right sponsoon las cannons into the Ad Secularis Covenant, killing one of them because it was the only viable target. Vehicle facing and armor facing is a thing, and the other guns, or the guns that can fire down at the Castellax, are firing at the Castellax. So what we start with?
2 las cannons.
Yes.
And a twin link las cannon.
Twin linked. Everything hits.
The multi-max is all the same.
Yeah.
Twin linked.
Okay, so 4 hits. Wounding on 2s. 2 wounds. Rolling 2 1s there. And I make both of my invulnerable saves. The last cannon doesn't even injure the Castellax.
We killed a little 3-point guardsman.
You killed a 3-point guardsman. That's all you've done so far. Well, and make this snap fire. And I think the last thing left to fire, actually, because Rylanor rang, is the Land Raider. Yes?
Yeah, we're going to shoot the multi-mounter.
At my tanks here. I've already shrouded, so it hits. And you're in armor bane range, right? And that's a pen. You can't see 100% of front armor, I imagine.
Not.
So a 6, no. And what does the penetrating hit do? And that becomes 5.
Weapon destroyed.
This one's on 1 hull point remaining. So this part of the squadron is now a wreck. It's lost all its hull points under the sustained fire. Now we're onto the charge phase. Only Sol Tarvitz charging the Vorax. And that's a 5. And with the barricade there, that is enough to make the charge. There is, of course, an ongoing combat down there between the Phoenix Terminators and my Vorax, but we might as well start here. Find out what Sol Tarvitz can do, because he's initiative 6 on the charge.
Yes.
And he's got 5 attacks, and he's hitting on 3s with a master-crafted Greater Charnable Blade. So
I think on weapons also gets in your 4, so 3s
yeah,
with a reroll.
With a reroll, master-crafted. And it's strength 6, I'm toughness 5.
So who's on 3s? But 4's breach.
4's breach. So 4 5-up saves. And Sol Tarvitz only manages to injure one of them. The other 2 shots deflected by the automatic shielding. They pile in. There's 3 veterans with lightning claws, which gives them 15 attacks on the charge. And they hit on 3s. They're veterans. And because they're lightning claws, they're going to wound on 5s, but you re-roll all wounds. Like twin linked, but not twin linked because this is Horus Heresy. And twin linked is re-roll a hit. It's shred. Re-roll a wound. That's what twin linked is. And this will go straight through the cybernetic armor. So they have to make 6 invulnerable saves, and they kill the squad, and that was only 3 models. And we do some explosions, and that's how far they blow up, and then we'll roll it all off camera. Boom. In the explosion, the 2 troops that hadn't fought yet got wiped out, and now we're going to roll for the rest, because 7 hits on the unit, and
3 ups because the Sarge over there.
It's all the way at the back. And one of those, and the reason why we're rolling for this is because Sol Tarvitz got hit twice.
He did.
By strength 8.
Yes.
So you got, if you roll snake eyes, any 1s He dies in the
This is how they
explosion.
die. This is how characters die in Heresy.
Oh, he holds in there. Bits of shrapnel come plinking off his armour, but he stands firm. And then you may consolidate up to your initiative in any direction. In Heresy, you can go backwards. And Soltarvitz never goes backwards, particularly when the big Thanatar is only snap firing, and Castellax really don't want to get in combat with a veteran squad, particularly as there's 20 veterans there. Anyway, we're going to come down here and pile in with the Phoenix Terminators. They'll all be able to fight this time. They hit on 3s. Big, sharp, pointy sticks. Wound on 3s. And there's another instant death. And a fail the save, but D3 against Automata.
Yes.
For only 1. And then the other 4. Okay, so in total that'll be 4 wounds on that unit. There's 1 left on 2 wounds.
Yes.
1 Vorax still holds you up and didn't charge this turn. Hits twice. Wounds twice and they both breach.
Oh, look at that.
And the Terminator steps aside and isn't injured. But I'm locked up, I'm fearless, and I blow up 6 inches. I'm going to hit every single one of your Terminators.
You are.
Here's the Sergeant, and it wounds him. Or at least smashes into his armour. And the other guys, one of them misses. One of the fragments misses. Sergeant is dead. He's dead. He gets hit. 5 other guys. And one of them's balls as well. Shrapnel hits the Vorax as well, but he makes the save and charging those Vorax in there. Well, it's 1 Vorax versus 5 Terminators remaining, and these odds rarely come up. This isn't what normally happens. Normally the Terminators have dug their way through that unit, but I keep making my invulnerable saves. That is the end of Emperor's Children turn 2. You're pushing hard around this flank, and it looks like there's a lot standing against you, but there really isn't. I might have to commit the Castellax. And you're protecting the big gun in the backfield. And my reserves arrive on a 3, but they might not arrive. You don't automatically arrive in Horus Heresy till turn 4. And they're coming in turn 4. Oh no, what's happening? They're caught up. There's Skyfire stuff happening up above and Chris. They were on Istvann III. They're easily delayed. It's a mess up there. Under the Sky Shield landing pad, the Castellax are committed. They're going to make their way in as well. The decision is whether to go running into the Phoenix Terminators, because I seem to be winning that fight for some ungodly reason. So if I can keep them locked up and out of the fight for longer and longer and longer, that's good for me. Or do I actually shoot at Rylanor with them and try and take a couple of wounds off? Backed up by the Castellax back here, by the not the Magos, the Magos Dominus, my number 2. I've got to start putting shots in Rylanor. He's gonna make an impact at some point, and this game goes on for 6 turns. So the Thanatars move round to get line of sight on him as well. Haven't moved the Thalax. Need to kind of keep hold of the Thalax. Yes, they're troops. They can move a long way. They can score. It's only turn 3 though. No, I'll keep them there. And then round here, my Castellax came round the side. We have multi-melters. So you reacted with a vehicle to reverse backwards.
Just a little bit.
Vehicles can pivot 90 and then move forward and backwards. When you react in the movement phase, normally with anything but a vehicle, you have to go directly forward or directly backwards. It does give you some latitude with the vehicle. I like the fact that you showed that off. I've come around with multi-melters. The lander has gone 1 minute, there's multi-melters and reverse.
Hit reverse.
And now I can't hit you with that. But I can hit you with the ordnance tank that I've lined up here. 1 is wrecked. 1 is now free to move. Would you like to shroud?
I would, please.
Here's some ordnance shots coming in, and only 2 of them hit. I need 5s to glance, 6 to Penja, and there's a glance. Just 1 glance. 6 up cover save and a 5 up shroud. And you make the cover save anyway. I'd love to buy the Thanatar's big blast template about now.
I bet you.
But I can't, because he's been shock pulsed, which is why I've continued to move him around here, out of line of sight of the big Cerberus down there. So instead we'll just snap firing to Soltarvitz's boys, and 1 of them hit because I'm snap firing. And I do wound them.
3 up.
And 1 of them's absolutely fine. Let's fire multi-melters into them then. 2 that can fire in.
Shroud this.
You're going to shroud it?
Yeah.
Multi-melters are twin linked, so that means re-roll a hit, Alex, not re-roll a wound. It didn't help me. 2's to wound. I wound you. 6 up cover. And then you didn't need
I
a
like
shroud
those blue
again.
dice.
Didn't
They're
need a
really nice,
shroud.
those blue dice. Where are they available?
Well, these dice, Rapscallion bought them for me.
They're not
When
available. Is that what you
they're
said?
not available. He came down, he said he was sick of watching all the old DZ dice on the channel. So he bought me some dice. They're like £5 each or something. You spend a lot of money on it. So he did.
The weighting was that extra? Was it?
Yeah, that's because they mainly roll sixes for some reason. They roll a lot of ones, I've noticed, and a lot of sixes. See here.
There's none of either. Beautiful.
Yeah. These are the bolters, by the way.
Yeah.
That many wounds on the squad.
I'm going to use these.
Yeah.
Good.
3-up saves.
3-up saves.
And you did shroud, so you do get a 5-up against that. And you make it. Okay, so nothing's injured you so far. The toasters back here, Adsekularis Covenant, a couple of them might be able to reach. I can't reach. Their Laszlocks are only 18-inch range. Adsekularis, by the way, these are just normal monotask servitors from the Forge. So here's the Archmagos here. And there's like millions and millions of these things, like auto loaders, toasters. These are the toasters, the hairdryers, the servitors. And what they do is they take off all their hardware from the wetware, fit on all the hardware that they need for battle, like, okay, gun, breather, blah, blah, blah. Run a destroyer program through their brains and off they go.
Kick them out the door.
Yeah. So the Forge basically has unlimited number of mindless drones that it can retrofit to. And that's why they're 3 points each and absolutely terrible. Okay, so it's on to Operation Try and Shoot Rylanor now. The Thanatar moved around to get shots into Rylanor.
He did.
He's not overcooking because he's on 1 wing left. We're going to put a blast template right over that Dreadnought's head. And with a 3-inch scatter, we'll hit it because the base is 2 inches wide and the centre of the blast is 1.5. And I wound him and I breach him. So Rylanor needs to make a 5-up save. And he gets tickled. But he's got 5 wounds remaining as the Mauler Pattern Bolt Cannon thumps in and wounds him 2 more times. But this is 2-up saves against this and he's fine. Okay. So I've lined him up for some Darkfire love, so let's do that now. The first one hits on 3s, and the second one hits on 3s. Still, this squad hasn't got hot. And it's Strength 7 versus Toughness 7. They wound twice. 2 invulnerable saves on Rylanor. He fails one of them and has to take a blinding test.
What's a 4 or less?
Yep. And he's not blinded. Of course he's not. He shut down his visual optics just in time. And these Castellax are not going to shoot him because I want to charge. I want to try and take those Terminators out of the fight. And interestingly, that's the end of my shooting phase. I don't think you have any morale anywhere. No. It's, like typical games of Horus Heresy, it's absolutely brutal. And we're falling off a cliff. Your output falls off a cliff. In the first 2 turns, you can lose half your army. And then the next 4... Yeah. Castellax charging Terminators. 8... 8 was enough to get them in. Hammer of Wrath, impact hit, which wounds as the big chonky robot smashes into them. The Terminator plate holds firm, and over here, these Castellax will charge in as well. This will be -2, and that's a 7-inch charge. Are you thinking about countercharging? I filmed that too quickly.
Yeah, I'm going
to. I heard that. So if you beat a 7, and you don't beat a 7,
no, which means I just Overwatch.
Which means, okay, so this is your once per battle thing.
Yes, yeah.
If you beat the 7, you could have charged up here. Okay, Overwatching. Then not only do I fail the charge, I lose 2 wounds in the Overwatch phase as well. And of course, Salt Harvard's landed one of the critical blows with his mastercrafted Nemesis bolt gun. Now we come over to here, to the Vorax and the Castellax, fighting the 5 remaining Terminators. Now Alex is using skill unmatched now to drop a weapon skill so it's easier to hit him back and put all of his attacks and extra attacks into the Vorax. Because if you manage to do this, Castellax don't have as good a weapon skill. No. And hitting them on 5s anyway. But you're hitting the ratty guy on 4s now. And that's still plenty of hits.
That was okay.
Trying to take him out of the fight. Wounding him on 3s. There's an instant death. There's a past invulnerable save. Here's the remaining invulnerable saves, and the Vorax is dead, and it blows up 3 inches, hits both of the Castellax, and both of them are wounded, and both of them pass their save, and hits the 5 remaining dudes in the squad, because the sergeant's already dead, and 5 chunks of shrapnel fly out and cut one of them in half. And then the Castellax fight. 2 attacks plus the shock pulses plus that. But they're going to hit on 5s because Castellax, they're a bit dumb. Well, 3 of them hit. Nice. Their strength very high. They wound on 2s. They're big punchy robots, but it's only AP3. So Terminator Plate shrugs it off on 2s, and you shrug it off. So the Voraks have finally been wiped out, but to be honest, they're just switched places with those 2 Castellax now, facing 4 Terminators. However, we're about to move on to Emperor's Children turn 3, and I'm sure Rylanor will have something to say about this fight, unless he keeps running straight up the gut. He's been injured twice now. He's on 4 wounds, and that just makes him very angry. Meanwhile, over on this left flank, well, there's 2 full units of veterans, one inside a Land Raider and one also very, very angry, that can finally make the charge into the Admech lines. At the end of the Emperor's Children movement phase, Soltarvitz and Lucius are right here, looking at charging in to the Dark Mechanicum's lines. This tank reacted, hit the reverse to get outside of multi-melter range from the Land Raider that is looking straight at the tank and at the Thanatar. There's Lucius already pointing at the Castellax, ready to go in there, and here's Soltarvitz round this side, ready to hit the tank or whatever it wants to hit. Potentially quite a few targets could be taken out here. Round this side of the battle grid, Rylanor has chosen not to support the Terminators. Why is he coming this way?
He wants to just camp on that objective because he's a denial unit, but he can't score.
Okay.
So he's pretty chunky and he's hard to kill, so if he stood there, he might live.
So Rylanor has told Soltarvitz, don't worry, I'll hold this down.
I got this, yeah.
They will not take this from you. You pivoted the Cerberus round a little bit to get shots in down at that Thanatar on 1 wound remaining. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Terminators continue to try and dig their way through cybernetic construct after cybernetic construct as we go into the shooting phase. Starting with the Cerberus against the Thanatar. I did again tell both of the Thanatars to react in the shooting phase. Not sure if I caught that on camera. Last cannons can hit this time though.
Let's do them first.
And they both hit.
3.
And one of them wounds. And a 5 up and done. And I make it. So 4 shots with the big ordnance gun.
Hey, it's about time.
Gets hot. On a 1-2 you take a wound. No, on a 1-2, yeah, 1-2 you take a wound, so you're fine. It got
nice.
hot, but you blew coolant through the tanks, you're fine. 2s to wound. 3 6s there. 5 ups. I make 2 of them. Shrouding. I make that as well.
Nice.
That's a feedback on that shock pulse. Check the rules. It doesn't feed back. You did successfully wound it. I just made the damage mitigation rolls. Otherwise, on a 1... Oh, you did? Yeah.
It didn't get shock pulse because I didn't actually wound it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the roll to wound that matters for feedback.
Welcome to Horus Heresy. It's still on 1 wound remaining. It will be able to fire at full ballistic skill. I think that's the first time ever I've seen the Cerberus whiff.
Yeah.
And normally it kills something or does something. Right, more shots, more guns. I think Rylanor's out of range, but we have that Land Raider that could kill it, that could finish it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything into it.
Brilliant. Okay. 4 last cannons coming in hot, hitting on 3s. 3 of them hit, and the twin link one hits, so that is 4 hits. Strength 9, toughness 8, 3s to wound. 2 wounds come through, 5 up and Vance. I fail them both this time. 5 up shrouding. Oh no, we're already shrouded. I can't shroud, it's a different unit. It is dead. It blows up 5 inches, that's not good. It's going to hit all of my guys. They all get wounded on 2s. Everyone gets wounded. They all have 4 up saves, and I only saved 2 of them, and then they have 6 up feel no pain saves. And what was that one?
It's a 5.
That's a 5. So 1 up, 3 of them. 3 separate models. I'm going to have to put a lot of 2s here now. And I rolled to see if it hit the already injured one. It didn't. So I've got 4 Thalax on 2 wounds remaining. They're on fire. One of their legs has been torn off each. In the end, it took 2 tanks to do it. But the Thanatar has been taken out of the fight. So now we're coming over here to Tarvitz, Lucius, and you're in a target-rich environment. And behind them is Land Raider number 2, firing all the big guns into the last remaining Thanatar. And 3 of the Sponsoon las cannons hit. And the turret one, twin links, and that's cocked. Was it a miss?
Yeah.
Okay,
Like a
3s to
me.
wound. 2 of them wound, multi-melter. Twin linked. Hits. Wounds on a 4. Wounds. 3 wounds come through. This won't kill the Thanatar. It makes 2 of it. 1 of its saves anyway. And is on 2 wounds remaining. Staggering. Bleeding oil. And Soltarvitz's unit doesn't fire at the tank they want to charge. Can't really hurt it. But these are the plasma wounds that come from Lucius's unit into the Castellax. And I have a 3-up save to make and 2 5-up saves to make. And I lose 2 wounds. One was on till 2 wounds remaining. That one. And he blows up an inch. So that won't hurt anyone at all. Except for the robot behind, which isn't wounded by the shrapnel anyway. And then bolt guns fired in. Didn't do any damage. I can't react back because I've all reacted in the shooting phase, and normally you wouldn't be able to charge after firing that kind of weaponry in. It's only assault weaponry or pistols, unless you're relentless. And these are veterans. They've been trained to shoot and move and charge. They're relentless. And now they go charging in.
Yes.
And I didn't tell this unit that they can react, so I can do nothing about this. And they charge 7 inches. The tank, when it gets charged by Soltarvitz, can't react anyway, because you can only react with defensive weapons, and that's a really big gun. And both Lucius and Soltarvitz make the charge. And at the end of the charge phase, it looks like this, and Lucius the Flawless Blade is the fastest guy here, by a long way.
He's initiative 7 right now.
Yeah, and he's got 6 attacks on the charge, hitting on 2s against those things, and re-rolling 1s, and he rolled a couple of 1s. A big stubborn leg was in the way. He's got rending 3 up with 19, so on 3s, it wounds. 6s would have been murder strike. Only 2 wounds coming through.
Very good. He's warming up.
He just ran through fire. One of them exploded nearby. He does take a wound off, though, and he'll be really annoyed if the rest of the squad don't wipe them out. The plasma gun wielders did their attacks. They're not wounding. They didn't wound, but here's all the lightning claws hitting on 3s. While Lucius taunts them, I've already landed a blow. You're going to need 6s to wound, though. Chonky robots, they're tough as all hell, and you're only strength 4. But you re-roll everything because of claws. 2 more wounds come through, 2 more 5-up and vulnerable saves. They are claws. 1 goes down to 2 wounds remaining. And then there's 16 attacks with charnable weapons. And these hit on 3s. They're veterans. Strength 4 again. So 6s to wound. But they breach. That's 2 more wounds. 2 more 5-up and bunts. 1 is down to 1 wound remaining. Then my robots get to strike at initiative 2.
Oh, my hammer's initiative 2.
Your hammer's initiative 2 because Emperor's Children. And he's got 4 attacks on the charge. 3 attacks on the charge, sorry. Sergeant. And it's a specialist weapon.
Sergeant, so he's got 3 attacks.
Yes. So 3s to hit. 2s to wound. It's brutal 2. I have to make 2 saves to this. And I fail them both. And this robot will blow up at the same time. Both of them fight back. And the power blades hit on 5s and only 1 hits. And it wounds but doesn't breach the armour. So a full 3-up save. And 1 ducks. But how big is the explosion? It's 5 inches. It's going to hit everyone there. It'll wound Lucius on a 2. And it will wound the 10 other guys on 2s. Here's the sergeant. He's wounded as well. Oh, mama. This explosion could hurt. 8 normal guys. 3 of them die. It's strength 8. Don't care if they got 2 wounds. Get them out of here. Sergeant. He's dead as well. Does Lucius step to one side? Yes, of course he does. He's the Flawless Blade. And then all of a sudden, that unit are locked up and Soltarvitz is looking over his shoulder, ducking and covering while he's attacking this Kriya's tank. And he sweeps out with his master-crafted heavy charnable blade and he hits on 2s. And a strength 6 he'll glance on 4s. 6s breach but don't count for anything. But that is 2 penetrating hits. And he rips off the weapon and shakes it, and it's on 2 wounds remaining, and then the rest of the squad will hit it, including the hammer. And they glanced it to death. They wrecked the tank even before the hammer got to swing. So this one is a smoking wreck. And they get to consolidate. And Tarvitz continues his relentless push forward into the Dark Mechanicum lines. The objective that he nominated was there, and in turn 3, he's in breathing distance of it. Meanwhile, across this district, Down at the other side of Battle Grid 117, the Terminators fight the Castellax. They're gaining attacks with skill unmatched because they're against a crappier unit and they're hitting on 3s. I say crappier unit, lower weapon skill, and that was bad hitting.
It's all good.
Strength 6, toughness 6. 3 wounds come through. 3 invulnerable saves. You only scratch the surface of one of them. And then they punch back at you. And they hit 3 times. And they wound twice, drop dice don't count. Full armor save, Terminator save. And the Terminators are fine. They've scored a wound against the Castellax, but they're locked up. And that's the end of turn 3 in this 6-turn game. The Emperor's Children are very close to taking this objective here. On what's standing against them? Well, another Castellax, a Thanatar and only 2 wounds remaining, and my massive swarm of guys here. Now, the question I have for myself is that enough to defend that? Okay, it's turn 4. If I'm going to make a break for the Emperor's Children objective, I've got to do it now. But I'm 2 points in the lead and at risk of losing my home objective. So we're going on the defensive mode. Now, the problem with this is you're losing, but if you slay my Warlord and kill more, it'll be a draw. Soltarvitz will turn this loss into a draw. And I step back with a Thanatar because the last thing I want to do is get charged by Soltarvitz. So you're reactive and move straight towards him. So you're like, no, we're having you. So my Warlord, Archmagos Singh, is coming directly for Soltarvitz. What are you doing here, you traitor? In bebop voices. Where this battle grid is ours. Industrial Sector 117 was promised to us by the War Master. He's like, he's not my War Master anymore. Screw you. So we're going to have a proper Warlord fight going on here. The Thalax coming around here to lend support. I had to run with the Castellax over here so they're not shooting at anything. And that leaves all of these guys sat over there fighting their own mini-war. It was a feint. It was a feint. It was a distraction. And my deep strikers need to come in. And this could go horribly wrong and I'm putting them there. So let's scatter this bad boy. Up above, there were vulture gunships. There's been all sorts of stuff. These guys, there's only 7 in this unit. I like to think they were a full unit of 10, but only 3 of them made the drop site, and they scatter 4 inches. I'm going to be okay. Landing here, I'm going to be okay. And after the whole unit comes in, it looks like this. The Uzuraxes have been redirected to deal with Lucius's squad, while Archmagos Singh is going to go after Tarvitz's squad. And it's down here where the meat and potatoes of this battle will be fought, won and lost. And I have got nothing that can hurt that Land Raider over here anymore. The multi-melter's locked up by ordnance tanks are taken out. The strength 8 gun on the Thanatar, the most it can do is glance the Land Raider. So it's going to be firing for effect for the Loyalists for the next 3 turns. As we go on to the, in your shooting phase, and now I'm going to go on to my shooting phase. I can't shoot into this unit that I want to charge. The Thanatar's danger are close to this unit, and I guess he's going to go charge. It would be silly to fire the blast template twice. So let's just fire it once. Would you like to shroud? No, it ignores cover. You can't.
I can't shroud.
Brilliant.
I'm fearless. I can't shroud.
I've told the Thanatar to react one more time. We're dropping the template of doom down there, and it hits. It hits 7. You can't shroud. It breaches on a 4. So it only nukes 2 of them down to the flesh straight away. That'll kill 2. And these other 4 will get 3 up saves. Which you could tank on Artificer if you want to.
I feel like I keep my hammer to kill the big robot.
The hammer will definitely hurt the big robot, yes.
So 3s.
And 3 of them die. Plus the 2 that breached.
5.
That's a big bada boom. Then the Mauler cannon fired in, but all the saves were made. And you're choosing to return fire.
Yeah.
There's 2 plasmas in that squad. They're the only things.
Plasma.
That's the only thing that can hurt it.
Soltarvitz can hurt as well.
Oh yeah, you can.
Plasma.
3s. Okay, you need a 5, but it'll breach. It doesn't breach. Soltarvitz hits on a 2. Wounds on a 6.
No.
And it doesn't breach. So you've returned fire. And now what? You know what I'm going to do, Al?
What's that?
I'm going to pour on humiliation after humiliation. Because retrofitted toasters and hairdryers are now going to light up your elite slot. They hit on 5s, basically as good as orc shooting, but they are strength 4, so they wound on 4s. You do get a full armor save. They are danger close, That's a lot of hailstones coming in. That's 9 shots coming in. How are you splitting this? There's a lot of shenanigans you can do there. It's strength 4.
Yeah, I know.
Because Tarvitz has got a 2-up save. Your Hammer's got a 2-up save. Yeah?
Tarvitz going to tank, so he's going to die to an explosion in a minute anyway, which will be instant death.
Okay.
And that'll be fun.
2s on
Your
Tarvitz.
servo arm's instant death as well, so I may as well.
His servo arm is instant death, yeah.
So 2 at a time, till he's down to 1 wound.
Okay.
He's
on 2 wounds. He's still alive. He's still alive. He's down to 1 wound.
So now do Smart Fighter.
Okay.
How many?
That was 5. Artificer's down to 1 wound. And you have to keep putting it on him because he's not independent.
He's a character.
He's a character, so he can split it.
So
okay.
these will be 3s.
Okay.
Many wounds were taken.
Basically, 1 on the sergeant, 1 on Tarvitz, 1 in the squad. I quite like that narratively speaking as well. I mean, look at all the shots that shot through there. It was hailstone against ceramite in a storm, and 3 of the targets are injured but not out of the fight. Normally you can't split wounds, but check the independent character rules. Guys, if you want it, you can do that for the character.
Any character. So
any character.
Can do it, so.
Any character. I like it. So I didn't kill any.
No, thank God. That was the main point, is we don't die to toasters. That's
right.
just the thing.
My Magos, he's got an Arag cleanser, but he can't fire it because he told this thing to react. The next thing that is going to fire into that squad, and the last thing in my army that can actually shoot, are the Thalax.
This might sting.
This could sting. You could shroud this. Oh no, you return fire.
I'm fearless.
Lightning guns hit 3 times. At strength 7 they wound on 2s, and they have shred, and they breach. So 2 6-up saves and 1 3-up save.
6s and 3 up.
Okay, so the injured 1 dies. 1 goes down to 1 wound remaining. Then the gets hot weaponry, and the gets hot weaponry. Only 1 of them hits, and it gets hot and injures 1 of my guys down to 1 wound remaining, and wounds on a 2, and wounds at AP 2. 6-up save. Failed to save, and that's a blinding test. But Tarvitz is initiative 5.
Don't roll a 6.
And you don't roll a 6. He passes his initiative test. That is the end of the shooting phase. So all I got left over here.
Charge.
So now we're going to charge. Toasters charging elite loyalist Emperor's Children sword masters, and we make the charge. And then the Uzuraks charging Lucius's squad as well, and they make the charge. You can't fail over there. Crump, the Toasters of Doom, get in. Here we are. You're challenging me?
I am.
See, if I accept that with my dude, you're quicker, you're faster, you're better. But I do have a 3-up invulnerable save.
I'm going to challenge with my hammer.
You're going to have to... I'm accepting challenges.
Definitely.
I'm accepting challenges all day. You get to fight first, though, with Sol Tarvitz.
Oui.
He's got 4 attacks. You made me disordered as well.
I did.
4 attacks, and he hits on...
2s.
The weapon skill of the unit, yeah, 2s. Mastercrafted. And he kills on 2s. It's no AP. They all breach. Yeah. And I do get Feel No Pain on the Covenant, but you wipe out 4 of them because it doubles me out. Then the claws from the Veteran Sergeant strikes, or just the normal Veteran strikes. He hits 3 times. He wounds on 3s. They're not very tough, but it re-rolls because it's twin linked.
You get Feel No Pain.
But I do get Feel No Pain. Straight through the armour, 5-up Feel No Pains. These Toasters don't have very many brain cells or much of anything left. So 2 of them get wiped out. 3 more get wiped out. Now we're in a challenge. And my Toasters fight you. I've got 6 in the front rank hitting your unit. I'm weapon skill 2. I'm hitting you on 6s because your weapon. Yeah, your weapon skill's 5.
Oh, yeah.
They're hitting you on 6s. But you know what? They really hate you. They're programmed for war. So they try again, and 2 of them hit you.
Oh no.
You get hit by a hairdryer. Can you get wounded on a 5? That's a wound. No one's going to live this down back at the canteen if you fail this save. You failed the save! You failed the save. So
Everybody's on 1.
everyone's on 1 wound remaining. I love it. And then your hammer and my Archmagos fight at the same time.
But it's initiative 1.
But your weapon skill 5, I'm weapon skill 4.
Oui.
So your hammer hits me on 3s. And it's strength 8, I'm toughness 5.
2s.
It wounds twice. It's brutal 2. So I've got to make 4. 3 up invulnerable saves. Now, he's on 1 wound remaining, and if he wasn't toughness 5, he'd be insta-killed by that hammer. Archmagus Singh reels from the blow and fights back with his mastercrafted power claw. It's not really a stuck thing, it's something that is wrought out of beauty and gold and titanium, so he gets to re-roll a hit, and he hits once. And he'll kill that sergeant on the 2 with this. And picks it up and crushes that sergeant's soul to death, skull to death. How dare you touch me with your filthy hammer? Don't you know who I am? I'm chosen of Kalborhal himself. And Solvatavit says, bitch, you lost that. You still have to make a leadership test. So leadership 10, because I'm stubborn.
Yeah, I'm stubborn.
And this is one of the times where you really don't want to roll high. Otherwise, Solvatavit's could have ran that squad down. And they're locked up. Meanwhile, how is Lucius the Flawless Blade going to do against a bunch of Uzuraks? 1 minute, no. Lucius was locked up with the big chonker. He hits big chonky boy.
He does.
On 2s. Everything hits. He's going to wound on 6s.
3s, because of...
rending. Yeah.
Rending nasty needle thing.
So no murder strikes again. Nope. He's finding it hard to find the brain pan of this creature. And I make my automatic saves anyway. And it looks like you've got 2 in... Well, he could go anywhere.
So
you've got one claw guy into the Castellax. Everyone else can choose. Claw guy hits every time. Claw guy needs to reroll a wound. And he wounds 3 times. It takes the Castellax down to its half of its strength. Down to 2 wounds remaining. Now you have some choices. Because I'm going to be hitting you with Power Fists in a minute. And they sting, Space Marines. 3 channelable in that squad, hitting on 3s. And winning on 5s, but they breach. And that's a wound. And that's not a feel no pain. One of the Uzuraks is injured. And then there's claws. And they hit on 3s. And only 4 hit. And they win on 5s. And re-roll everything. And 2 more wounds get through. I don't feel those pains as well. So I'll take out a claw guy. And 2 Uzuraks with power claws hit back on 5s and hit 3 times. And they'll wound on 4s. Re-rolling. That is 2 wounds. At AP 3.
1 guy dead.
No remaining Artificer to tank that. Here's all the Power Fists, Alex. 16 attacks. 5s to hit.
That was good.
2s to kill. That's 7. 7 wiped out. How many are in that squad?
6.
6.
So Lucius
has got to tank 2.
He's got to take 2 saves.
Off 4 up.
And he's dead.
And he doesn't dodge one of the blows. And it's strength 8. And it doubles him out. And the Uzuraks win that combat. So the counter-strike of the Uzuraks was successful and have helped tip the tide at this side of the battle grid. For now, there are still further assets the Emperor's Children can bring on. And now we go all the way down to the other side of the battle grid, where the Terminators and the Castellax continue to fight it out. And we rolled off camera, and one of the Castellax gets taken out, because Castellax are an easier quarry for the Terminators, and none of them were injured in return. In the Emperor's Children's movement phase, the unit that were protecting the Cerberus has jumped inside the Land Raider, ready to jump out and defend any objectives should they need to. And the Cerberus moves round. It's got a really big gun, really long range, and it can thread the needle, just about hit the Thanatar over here. In the backfield, down in Soltavit's world, the Land Raider still hasn't immobilised itself and pivoted itself round, so the Uzuraks have reacted, moving forward, doing anything to push the line back. But I don't know if they'll regret it or not, because Rhydonor is coming in for the kill. Meanwhile, in the backfield, the Terminators are still locked up in mortal combat with cybernetic constructs. We're moving on to the shooting phase. The Cerberus is going to thread the needle, try and hit my Thanatar, which will shroud, and he hit on 3s and wound on 2s. Oh, gets hot.
That's a gets her hot, sir. And I'm okay.
The coils haven't overheated yet. 2s to wound. 3 wounds. 5 up in buns. I only make 1. 5 up shrouding. I make neither of them. It was on 2 wounds remaining. It dies. It detonates only 1 inch. is going to hit one of my little Covenant guys, who fails to make his save and gets cut in half. So the Thanatar is gone. That's all my big guns gone. The only thing that can really threaten the Land Raider now is this Castellax, who for some reason is miraculously alive. Anyway, the Emperor's Children, Land Raiders firing where?
2 lads this way.
At the Uzurax.
And the other 3 lads up the field at those.
At the Castellax trying to run away.
Yes.
Or run into the fight at least. Here's the 2 that are going to hit the Uzurax. I've already shrouded, so I can't do anything about this. It hits, it wounds, 6 up cover, 6 up feel no pain. No, one of them only takes a wound. It doesn't double me out. They're toughness 5.
They're chunky.
Here's the ones into the Castellax. And the twin linked one. So 2 hits so far, 2's to wound. Both of those wound. And one of the Castellax gets injured. Moving down the line, Rylonor's suddenly in this fight and is firing everything at the Uzurax. Here's the Kerry's assault cannon. It hits on 2s and hits 5 times, and it wounds on 3s. And I don't get a save because it goes straight through my armour. They do have a 6 up cover, and I make one of them, and they do have a 6 up feel no pain, but no, this one's injured. One's down to 2 wounds remaining. Put it on the guys with the claws. There's the claws guy. And then there's a melter, which hits and wounds. And I fail that save. I fail the feel no pain. Rhino kills 1. Cuts down to 1 wound remaining. Last thing left to fire for the Loyalists. The Land Raiders firing everything at the Uzurax as well. Here's the non-twin linked las cannons. 3 of them hit. The twin linked one hits as well. You might as well chuck the melter in there.
True.
It all hits and wounds the same. All wounds. No cover at this stage. But feel no pains. 2 of them get wiped out. That's all the claws from the Uzurax dead. One of the Uzurax fists is dead. They've got to take a leadership test at 7, stubborn, and they fail. And they fall back 5 inches. And they fall back this way, not towards where I started, but towards the closest board edge in turn 5. They're going to have to roll to regroup, and they'll continue to fall back. And they're just going to be on the edge of the battle grid in turn 5 as we move on to... I shouldn't have done that already because we've got a fight phase. I thought that was the end of the turn, that we didn't have a fight phase, so I'm sticking with that. Rylanor shot them up. The Land Raider shot them up. They're falling back towards the edge of the board, but we need to resolve this fight. Are you challenging?
No, I don't think so.
My guy's challenging you because his weapon skill is up to 5 now. Oh yeah, because he can as well.
Yeah, Chosen Warriors.
It's a thing. Okay, well, your initiative higher than me. Your claw guy can fight. And my Magos is up to weapon skill 5 now. See, the thing is, if you did it with Soltavits, it'd be hit on 3s. Yeah. And he's on 1 wound.
Yeah, alright, come on then.
Soltavits.
Talk me into it.
Soltavits. Okay then, 3s to hit. Master Crafted. He hits 3 times and he'll wound on 3. Strength 6, toughness 5. 2 wounds get through. Initiative high. 3 up invulnerable saves. And my Warlord takes it. The last remaining veteran attacks the little guys and hits 3 of them. Oh, hits 4 of them. 2s to hit, yeah. And 3s to wound, no saves. But I will get a feel no pain. I need to make 4 feel no pains. I feel the pain 4 times. And my Archmagos strikes out as Soltavits. And hits once, Master Crafted. Hits once. Wounds on a 2. Wounds. 4 up invulnerable save. And that's really cocked. And Soltavits takes the blow. Toasters did no damage as well. I lost that combat again.
You did.
Leadership 10, stubborn. And they hold. Then across at the other side of the battle grid, under the Sky Shield where they've been trapped all game, the Phoenix Guard Terminators finally break down the last of those cybernetic constructs and moves into the fight. But we're about to go on to turn 5. They're a bit out of it now, and all the fight is down here with Soltavits and Archmagos Singh. After the movement phase for the Dark Mechanicum in turn 5, we know that the Uzurax are falling back, and the remainder of the footprint of the entire force is here. Archmagos Singh came to Battle Grid 117 to loot, to plunder, to find all these wonderful machine mines and secrets and things. And Soltavits has definitely driven them back. I'm not going to get anywhere near the primary objective. But we're winning. We made them bleed. It's 2 points to 0. If Archmagos Singh can break the back of them now, then we'll win this day. But if Soltavit somehow manages to break through there, and Rylanor can bring his weight to bear in turns 5 and turn 6, well, we don't know which way. Well, Soltavits might be able to pull this into a draw. So we open up the shooting phase with the Castellax trying to one-tap a Land Raider. Do you want a Shroud? He hits. Oh, and it's Armor Pen at this range. Armor Ben. And it doesn't do anything. It just bounces. These are falling back. They can't snap fire and hit anything. The Thalax move through the gut. So we're going to fire in with some lightning guns. And 3 of them hit. And I need 6s to rend. And I don't get any rends. Because then I could have done something to you because I'm strength 7. The Getzhawk gun on the guy that's injured. The Getzhawk gun on the guy that's not injured. These are lances at strength 6, so I need 6s. Nothing. See, all my anti-tank weaponry has been reduced. Nothing here. Except for this last shot from the one Castellax, which has breached the side of that industrial platform and can fire across. And the second in command told him to shoot better. So he hits on 2s. It's a cybernetic override thing. And he hits both times. Photon thrusters. Sorry, Darkfire Cannon stronger. Strength 7. Lance. Doesn't do anything. And that's the end of my shooting phase. These guys can move, shoot, move. So we've got to get closer. We've got to shroud that objective, even though it puts them in harm's way. And then we go into the fight phase with Soltavits against Singh. Tarvitz hits on 3s. He hits every single time. He wounds on 3s. 1 comes through AP dash. 1, 2 up safe. And then 2, 3 up invulnerable saves because they breach. And Singh gets taken out. Soltavit slays the enemy warlord. Archmagos Singh, chosen of Kalbor Hal, and the veteran raises his lightning claws and goes all Wolverine and hits 3 times into the Adsekularis Covenant and wounds them 3 times. And 2 of them don't feel any pain, but 1 of them gets taken out, and that is the only combat this time. And their leadership's 6 stubborn all of a sudden. And they fail.
Ooh.
Do you think you can run them all down?
Definitely.
Kill my Archmagos and run them all down? Well, I've got an initiative of 2 that I add a d6 to. What's your initiative?
5.
Oh, okay. 2 plus 6. Look!
You got a chance.
I've got an initiative of 8 right now.
So I need a 4.
Yeah, to run them down.
We need a 4.
And that's a 3. So you kill the Archmagos, but they manage to break somehow the Covenant. And they fall back 8 inches. 1 minute. This is my closest board edge, isn't it? And if 1 model gets off the board, you do rotate. They do. They're all gone. Soltavits just smashes his way through that combat with relative ease. Okay, not with ease. He's on 1 wound remaining. And so is the veteran stood next to him, bleeding, but they're not out with a fight yet. And they're aiming straight towards the Thalax. As we go into Emperor's Children turn 5, the Land Raider is still untouched. Rylanor is getting closer to the fight. And you've still got a very big gun in the backfield. And maybe the Phoenix Terminators could make that by turn 6? Maybe. After the Emperor's Children movement phase, there's a big Cerberus tank down there, pointing his neutron laser beam all the way up to my Thalax here, firing it over the head of the Phoenix Terminators who ran forward. And they're Tartarus. They're very quick. And you've decided not to move with Soltavits because then I could react and move away. But if I do react and move away, I'm kind of in a Phoenix Terminator. They're not in it yet, but in turn 6, and we go to turn 6, I'll be in a Phoenix Terminator Soltavit sandwich. But right now you can't really fail the charge. I think it's like a 3-inch charge.
Should be right.
Should be okay. Anyway, the Thalax are going to get lit up. And no doubt the Thalax are going to get lit up by the Land Raider as well. Because Rylanor is aiming at the last remaining Castellax on 2 wounds. Well, the last one down here, I've still got 2 over here running, trying to get into the fight. So let's go into the shooting phase. His assault cannon hits on 2s. He is an ancient and everything hits. His assault cannon wounds on 4s and 6s go straight through the armour. Okay, only 2 wounds come through. That Castellax was built by Archmagos Singh, by the way, R.I.P. He takes 2 wounds, he's dead.
died
He
anyway.
didn't even have to do the melter. And it blows up 4 inches and it will hit the front of the Land Raider and doesn't even glance it. Rhinosaurus fired twice this game and killed a target every single time. Now we're doing the Land Raider point blank into the jumpy guys, who of course shrouding the crap out of this. 4 las cannons. All of them hit. And the twin link 1 hits. And you might as well throw the multi-melter in there as well, which is twin linked. Okay, so 6 hits. 2's to wound. 5 wounds. There's cover on 6s. And then shrouding. I make 2 of them. But the way we do it is you always apply it to the most wounded model, which is actually a photon thruster guy. So it'll be him. And then another guy on 2 wounds. You have to take away whole wounded models wherever possible.
Unless it's a character.
Unless it's a character, yes. Which means when the giant tank of doom fires in, it can only kill 1of them now. And after it fires, it utterly wipes out 1 of them. It can only shroud 1 of those shots. Now we're taking a leadership test. Oh no, you've got guns here. He's got his master
I don't want
crafted
to
thing.
shoot you because you'll shoot me back, right?
I could return fire, yes. Please shoot. No, I've already shrouded. They can't return fire.
We'll try then.
Yeah. So he's got 1 shot. He hits on a 2. It's strength 5. It wounds on a 3. And it goes through my armour. I need a 6 up, feel no pain. I don't make the 6 up, feel no pain. He drops 1 down to 1 wound remaining. And then I fail my leadership test and I fall back. Oh no! 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 Omnissiah, hear my prayer. And that's the end of the shooting phase. And because I'm falling back, I can't overwatch you anymore. And now you want to charge him?
I do.
Okay, so you charge 6 inches. And when a unit that's falling back is charged, they have to pass the leadership test to regroup or they just get swept. Leadership 7. And I pass my leadership test. Tarvitz and the veteran go charging in there. And the first loyalist swings his heavy chain glaive on 2s. Re-roll in 1 of them. It's master crafted. And he's going to be wounding on 2s. And the 4s will go straight through the armour.
3s.
Okay. Not straight through the armour. 4 up saves. This is how he started off last time. He warmed up. 6 up, feel no pain. No, 1 was on a wound. It gets taken out. Chain, power claw guy. Wolverineing it up. On 3s, this guy. With 5s to wound the reroll in.
Oh.
He doesn't even need the reroll. What a G. Feel no pains. Negative. There's 1 Thalax left all of a sudden. There were 6 there a moment ago. And he hits you, and that's cocked. And he wounds the unit twice. 3 up, 2 up. Was it a bridge too far?
He's my dilemma.
You can't put it on your warlord. You can't.
I kind of need to.
You can't.
I've got 1 scoring model on the table. Guess which one it is?
That one. So Soltarvitz might not be the hero we deserve, but he's the hero we need right now.
He's going to tank him for the greater good.
2 up saves. And he tanks them for the greater good. And I lost that combat. So they take a leadership test again. And he passes. And I'm locked up, which is the worst possible outcome.
That's what we needed.
Because if I fell back, even if I fell back off the board, I've got 2 photon thruster darkfire cannons coming right up here. And would have nuked him. And I can't nuke him. As we go onto Dark Mechanicum turn 6. I got 3 units left.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
I don't know how it happened either. I was winning. I'm still winning. I've got these guys who can't fire in. These guys full. Let's do the Azarax. On a 7, they hold. On an 8, they're gone. They're off the board. Alex, I've got 2 units left. I've got a Thalax locked in combat with one of the most lethal bladesmen in the galaxy. And this unit round here, which cannot run to get onto that objective to deny it. In turn 6. But the secondary is kill more. So I'm going to hold them back because I've killed a lot of your army and I think I brought less units than you. I'm not sure. I think it's really close.
I like it.
Essentially, it's 2-0. And you get 1 for kill the warlord. If you've killed more, it's a draw. And that's the end of my turn. And if Soltarvitz and this hero can kill this last Thalax, that means in your turn you can get onto this objective, get 5 points and win the game. So first it's the end of my fight phase. Sol Tarvitz gets to fight first.
He does.
And he hits on 3s. No, he hits on 2s. His weapon skill 6. And it's mastercrafted. And he wounds on 3s.
Do that to wound.
You could do without to wound. Oh. And 3 wounds come through, ignoring my armour. Oh no, it wounds on 5s. 2 wounds come through, ignoring my armour. He makes one of its feel no pain.
It was 3s. Strength 6.
Strength 6. Oh yeah, it is. Some toughness. Yeah. No.
Oh, he nearly did it.
No, he does. Yeah, strength 6, toughness 5. He takes him out. Sol Tarvitz and the last remaining veteran kill the last Thalax. Then in turn 6 for the Emperor's Children, the last remaining scoring model on the board, except for the other guys inside the Land Raider over there, get onto this objective, and it is a victory for the Loyalists at Industrial Sector 117, just northwest of the Coral City on Istvann III. This is one of those stories that you never read about in the Black Library books, but one of the reasons why the Horus Heresy board game, this miniatures game, is so good is because you can make up your own stories like that. And this is not the way Istvann III ends.
I'm not smiling.
What happened?
I don't know. I thought I'd lost that game. I thought the Loyalists were getting crushed, right?
How many games of Heresy have we played? Like 20?
At least, yeah. At least.
How many times has the game twisted in turn 5, turn 6?
Yeah, it happens a lot, doesn't it? That's why it's good. It's never over. When you think it's over, it's not over.
Anything can happen. Yes, some games, it's like any game. Sometimes it is over in turn 3, 4, 5. And you still find, even when it is over, you still find little stories here or there happening. But this keeps happening in Horus Heresy, where some hero steps up. And I'm so pleased it's the one time I picked up. See what it was, I told you off camera, like, some of our games have been epic. I wish we'd have filmed that.
Yeah,
because we've been playtesting and building the army together. You're getting Death Guard from you're getting World Eaters from March of War. You're getting it commissioned up from March of War. I'm getting Death Guard and more Sons of Horus from Den of Imagination. So we're both smashing the painting studios wherever we can. We built up the Emperor's Children together. Well,
I built them, you painted them.
You built, yeah, that's you built, I painted. I've been working on the AdMech as well, and I keep thinking we've got to film one of these games, and I'm so pleased that on this occasion where I picked up the camera and it came out like that.
That was good.
That was a glorious game. I love it. 5 points to, well, you'll get 6 points to 2. Let's add up some points to see who killed more. Interestingly, if that Thalax had stayed alive, it would have been a draw, but with that final blow, you killed more. So 7 points to 2. Sol Tarvitz defended this. And that's why you don't read about Archmagos Arbiter Singh in any of the lore, because he died in our battle report here. And this is one of the many stories. There's a bit in the narrative in Istvann III where it says, in any other age, in any other time, there were so many heroic actions which would have been recorded as the most heroic, the most legendary of any Space Marine chapter, and would be studied and go down in the annals for thousands and thousands of years. And that was a Tuesday on Istvann III. It happened again and again and again. And the reason why it kept happening, the reason why 10,000 points worth of 10,000... No, it started off with 30,000 loyalists after the virus bomb. And the reason why only 30,000 loyalists were able to hold off 500,000 traitors, including 4 Primarchs, was because there was a genius down there on Istvann III exploiting every single one of their moves and sacrificing as much as he needed to sacrifice in order to make the traitors bleed on Istvann III. And that hero was the first Loyalist, Sol Tarvitz. Happy wargaming.